It's January 23rd, 2023. This is Roqe. Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 232 of Roqe. Remember this, no matter how much fodder you're provided, the Islamic Republic wins when we're divided. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam dostan aziz. Durud bar shoma. They want us distracted and turning on each other. Don't fool yourselves. Only one winner comes from attacking leadership contenders, canceling folks, and peddling lies. Focus on the regime and keep your eyes on the prize. As we enter a middle period of this new Iranian revolution, it becomes increasingly apparent that the enemy is not just a murderous regime, which is clear, but our proclivity for infighting and tearing down those that are near. Debates about who our representatives should be, the flags we should see, or who is unworthy of your follow are all unnecessary distractions. Vindictive personal attacks, Schadenfreude-laced takedowns, gossip-filled hashtags all serve to carve us into factions. Remember this, no matter how much fodder you're provided, the Islamic Republic wins when we are divided. But you heard he's MEK. Do you know about her father? What about his past? Did you see who she'd been seen with last? I'm no royalist. Bring back the king. That one's not pretty enough. This guy can't sing. How about you take a deep breath before your next tweet or video screed? How about you take a pause before you join the pylon or mobbing in your feed? Try to remember Baroye and what supersedes all other concerns. Focus on the regime and keep your eyes on the prize. And this is not to say we don't keep the heat on the real targets, so-called reformists that have been enabling the regime, beneficiaries of IRGC cash, those living double lives and being just fine with Islamic Republic crimes. But beyond that, remember what we're talking about is so simple, it's deceiving. Remember that it's the human rights basics that Iranians are perceiving. This is about free speech, democracy, a woman wearing what she wants, a person being able to walk their dog or attend a rock concert. Remember the kids who died in the effort to bring change to Iran. Remember the massacre of Zahedan. Remember the years of suppression and repression and depression you want to overturn. Remember the evil of this barbaric regime and how much you want the Ayatollahs to burn. Remember the beauty and diversity and the unity of our cause. Remember the pain and tears and sleepless nights to change laws. Don't let the cyber army have their way with us. Don't trust those who are sowing division. Don't get distracted because you're bored or frustrated or need a faster decision. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we need all hands on deck. We've got an uprising to win, and they've got a revolution to wreck. Remember this, no matter how much fodder you're provided, the Islamic Republic wins when we're divided. Coming up, a big new edition of Roqe featuring legendary photojournalist Reza Deghati in Baku, composer and musician Hamid Saeidi in Los Angeles, and the Roqe Roundtable ready to go. This is Roqe, episode 232, The Uprising. The Islamic Republic wins when we are divided. All right. Back in the Roqe studio again. It's a new week. As you can tell, my voice is not fully recovered. You know what the conundrum is? Do you know what conundrum is, Shai?
I knew.
Yeah, it's one fewer word that you don't know in English than the ones I don't know in Persian. The problem is the complex problem.
Okay.
Conundrum is that hi Pega.
Hello.
Pega's back here too. I'm recovered, but except for my asthma, except for my chest. So then I take these puffers.
Oh.
Right, my asthma puffers. When I take the asthma puffers, then I lose my voice.
Oh,
yeah.
conundrum. Okay.
Asthma puffers and a bad joint. Either of those, like a cigarette,
yes.
like a marijuana with nicotine. Both of them screw up my voice.
I've never tried.
Yeah, and both of them screw up each other. Asthma puffers and marijuana joints with cigarette with nicotine. Anyway, yeah. So my voice is. But then if I don't take the puffers, I'm wheezing, you know?
Yes.
Just can't win.
Do you know it's been almost 20 years. I mean, I don't know, when I started doing radio, it was like 20 years ago. And for 20 years, people go, why are you trying to sound so breathy on, like, as if I intentionally, I'm like, hey, hi, but that's my voice. That's my voice, but, which is like racist towards asthmatics.
Racist?
Asthmaticist.
Sure.
The Islamic Republic wins if we're divided. Pega.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say. That opening essay. Reza Deghati. I'm very honored. I'm very. I think it's been a while. We've been trying to get him on the show
from the beginning.
From the beginning, we said his name in the first show. Like, let's get Reza Deghati. I don't know why and he's been very kind. I mean, he's sent me messages saying, "Oh, I'm a fan of your work," and I was like, "Wow, he's an icon of photography. He's probably one of the. I mean, he's certainly one of the most significant photojournalists of the last half century." Born in Shiraz in the middle of the 20th century, and was in Iran right around until the 1979 revolution. A couple of years after that, he was basically exiled because he was, covering the Khomeini co-opting of that revolution and the consolidation of power, and for, I guess, Agence Presse and for Newsweek, and anyway, he leaves Iran. Begins this career that is, taking him around the world as one of the preeminent photographers, photojournalists, humanists, and many National Geographic magazine covers, Time magazine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in the course of all that, he has been in some of the most, notable crisis areas of the world, war zones, revolutions. So Rwanda and Cuba and Afghanistan and Libya. I mean, he's sort of been there on the ground. So to get his perspective, he's in Baku right now. We're going to go to Azerbaijan in a few minutes to catch up with him. To get his perspective on this Iranian uprising, which I, from what I understand, he believes this is the revolution. So to find out why he believes that is going to be very interesting. Anyway, our feature interview with Reza Deghati coming up in Baku in a few moments. And then after that, Hamid Saeidi, our friend who's in Los Angeles, he of the great, he's a santoor player. He probably plays a number of different instruments. He's a great composer and a musician, but he also is one of the co-founders of the group Opium Moon, who famously won the Grammy Award for their new album, in the New Age category, for their first album, I should say, and they've been nominated a couple more times. And Hamid and his crew have been outspoken as well about the revolution going on in Iran, and have written a new song, or have created a new piece that is about and represents women life freedom. So Hamid Saeidi joining us from Los Angeles. It'd be very nice to have him back on the show. I always remember when he was on the program last time talking about his mother had just died, and the heartbreak of his mother dying was underscored by the heartbreak, the brutality of not being able to return to Iran to attend her funeral, to go to the gravesite, because of course he's been a dissident and he could be jailed, etc. So I suspect, I'll ask him, but one of the first things that he would want to do in a free Iran is visit his late mother's tomb.
Yeah, and since they have a non-Iranian audience, it's a very good, I appreciate them to work a song about Iran.
They're not actually an Iranian. He's the Iranian.
Yeah, he's
the rest of them are. There's a Canadian and a people from. I'm an American. Couple of American. I don't know. Welcome back, Pega.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
And finally, I was away, and then you were away.
Yes.
And most people this time of year, especially who live in Toronto, tend to go somewhere warm.
Yes.
You, being the iconoclast that you are, being the the contrarian, you went north.
I did.
You went as far north as you could possibly. Where exactly did you go?
I was in Iqaluit, which is in Nunavut, which for anyone who doesn't know Canadian geography is pretty much, like you said, as far north as I could go.
Wow.
The only other place that I guess I could have gone is Yellowknife, which is in Northwest Territories.
I've been to Yellowknife.
Have you?
A couple times.
When did you go?
Well,
was it winter time?
No.
Okay.
I went in the, and here's the big secret. The north of Canada, really far north Canada, in the summer is actually remarkable.
Beautiful.
Because it's all night sun, midnight sun, you know. Yeah,
exactly.
it's fantastic. I have been to Whitehorse in Yukon a couple times in the winter.
So you know the cold.
I do. But yeah, I mean, you go prepared.
Yes.
So how was it? I mean,
you know what? I went with really no expectations because I had never traveled to this part of Canada before. And, you know, I had a lot of friends who told me, who had made the trip, and they told me, you know, make sure you dress appropriately and it's going to be cold. And in the winter time, on the flip side of the summer time, as you mentioned.
How long is this answer going to be, by the way?
Well, I have a lot to say about the trip.
There's a revolution going on. We got to get the resident.
Fair enough.
No, please.
Let me just put it this way. My eyelashes were frozen.
Wow.
So I was dressed very appropriately. And for anyone who knows me, I'm always cold. Even here in the summertime, I have a light sweater or something like that. So I was very worried about how I would weather the cold, so to speak. But you know, it was quite an experience. I enjoyed it. There was only 4 hours of sunlight while I was there because I was there obviously in the winter. So that was an experience.
Were you staying is there a hotel or something?
Yeah. I was at a hotel. And I was only there for about a week. But I slept really well the first night. Like incredibly well. I don't think I've ever slept so well before actually.
Well, it's the circadian
your circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Because that was my experience in Yellowknife. I was there one of the times I went in the summer I was there for maybe 5 days, and I think I slept 3 hours over 5 days, but I didn't even notice it. Yeah. Because the sun was up the whole time. So you don't get tired somehow, or your body feels,
Yeah. Wow. I will add one more thing. The highlight of my trip was that I saw the Northern Lights on the last night that I was there.
Wow.
So that in and of itself was
what an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
In one piece. It was, I don't want just while we're sidebarring a little bit from Iran, we keep our focus pretty gingerly on the situation in Iran and the Iranian diaspora on this show. That's what we're all about. But since we're talking about Canada and we're talking about things, non-Iran related things, can I just say, because I haven't for a while, and there are some people who listen to the program who write to me who are football fans. My boys, Arsenal. Yeah. I mean, it has been a remarkable season. And Arsenal, I think because, I don't know, I think because of the situation in Iran or how I've been feeling, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just emotionally tapped. But I find myself crying at how well Arsenal's doing. I love the team so much. I love these young guys. I have a relationship with each one of them, because it's a young team, right? They're all in their early 20s, and they're just so great. And so this weekend, I mean, it's boom, boom, boom. We keep winning. And this weekend it was Manchester United, which, there's nothing more delicious than beating the Manchester United fans, except for the Tottenham fans, and we beat them last week. So when we won, I was just delirious. Anyway, I'm
congratulations.
Yes, my Arsenal team. I know there's a lot of Iranian Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of Iranian Manchester United fans too, but. So
they're gonna champion this, and they're gonna win this.
I told you this before.
Don't jinx it.
Afshin Naqouni. I told you he's the great painter who's in London, England. He's a big Arsenal fan, and we always text each other, and we're keeping each other in text in check to not cheshme this. So as soon as somebody says,
can't say it out loud.
They played well. You can't even say they played well today. It's Dige Naqouni karo. Because we're so on edge to lose. You were going to say?
I was going to add one more thing actually about
Iqaluit.
Iqaluit, yeah.
The north of Canada.
The north of Canada. One thing I took with me to Iqaluit is a Zan Zendagi Azadi flag.
You did?
I did. And I took some photos of said flag in Iqaluit.
You planted it in the snow or something?
I planted it in the snow, and I took photos, and I mean, you know, what you're saying about being emotional, I actually sat there and had a good cry seeing that flag there. Wow. So it was...
Probably a better reason than Arsenal winning, but that's a beautiful image.
Yeah,
nice.
The pictures turned out great, for sure.
Wow. I should start following you on social media.
You should.
Actually, today I was thinking I'm not following you. Do you have Instagram?
Of course
yes,
I have
she does.
Instagram.
Oh, I do follow her.
Okay, I will find you.
Please.
All right. We've got, let's get to business here. So we got Reza Deghati coming up and Hamid Saeidi coming up. Let's start things off with our official Roqe Roundtable. Brought to you by Bach. All right. So this is where, of course, we talk about what's been going on the last few days. We've got Pega back here. So Pega, I mean, what stood out for me today, not the best news, was the EU, the European Union, formally rejecting the idea of putting the IRGC on the terrorist list. This is something last Thursday when you were not here. You know, we kind of spoke about this as a victory on the heels of the demonstration in Strasbourg and months of lobbying, etc. There was this idea that the European Parliament, you know, had by a strong majority voted to make this recommendation, and it was actually going to get somewhere. Kind of deflating today. And not just deflating, but some of what was said suggests to me that these guys are not serious at all about wanting to hold the regime in Iran to account. What's your take on it? What happened today?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was actually pretty deflated by some of the conversations and some of the statements that were made. But before we get to that, actually, I think what the main statement is that concrete legal condemnation is required, which I have so many questions about that. And by no means am I, you know, an expert on the law or anything like that. But I mean, we're talking about an organization, and I hate to even call them that, a terrorist group. That's what they are. Where we've seen, you know, 4 decades.
The Islamic Republic regime.
The IRGC. Yeah. I mean, we've seen 4 decades of atrocities. What more do you need for a legal condemnation? Yeah. And I mean, I guess my question is, what's the next step? Is there going to be some sort of trial, and who are they putting on trial, right? Yeah. So, I mean, really, in terms of deflation,
it reminds me of one of those things like, you know, when they don't want to deal with the gun problem in America or something, they say, well, we're gonna launch a study, we'll launch an investigation and it's like, why? You know, there's a gun, people are dying, there's mass murders. So, I mean, the same way here, it does seem to stretch reason to say, well, we need some legal foundation to know that the IRGC are bad guys, you know. It just rang so hollow.
And the EU Foreign Affairs representative, Joseph Borrell, who I think is on the hate list of many Iranians today.
Called out by Hamid Saeidi today in a big way. Yeah,
that's right. And I mean, the statement, he said something along, and I can't remember exactly, but he said something like, you can't just say that I consider you a terrorist because I don't like you. Right. And I think that was the part that really, really upset me, and I'm sure so many other people, in terms of, you know, how could you diminish what's been happening for the last 4 decades? But I mean, I guess it wasn't all bad.
What's been happening for the last 4 months.
Exactly.
I mean, it's what do you need? What do you what if this doesn't, you know, qualify as
a terrorist organization,
as something that's terroristic?
Yes,
what does? Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't all bad news. There were a series of new packages of sanctions that were set against Iran and some individuals. So I know we've talked about this a lot, you know, on previous episodes about what does this actually mean. But I think the new package of sanctions, because it's individualized and it targets certain individuals, I'm hoping that this will have a better impact. I read online in the midst of Persian Twitter that there seems to have been, as a result of these sanctions, some deals that have now been cut short. So we're starting to see financial implications for these individuals, which, I mean, that's always a good thing, right?
But, you know, sometimes I feel like partly what's going on is the international institutions and the people who populate them are still playing out the role. They're doing the role play of the left-right divisions around the traditional arguments around things like sanctions, without understanding that the Iranian population seemingly almost unanimously, but certainly it's seeming the majority of Iranians, both inside and outside of Iran, have moved beyond that. So I saw a guy today, I don't know if he was from Ireland or something, one of the representatives at the EU, launching a screed against sanctions, saying this only hurts the Iranian people and we have to stop so not only saying we don't want to put the IRGC on the terrorist list, but we shouldn't sanction the IRGC either. And that's a conversation that Iranians have moved way beyond. You're hard pressed to find Iranians at this point saying, well, we shouldn't sanction the,
That's right.
Even the people in Iran, it's like, do whatever you have to do to bring this regime down. But those kind of conversations, that's sort of a traditional left-wing kind of argument, are still happening in these institutions that seem oblivious to what Iranians themselves are saying.
I mean, we've kind of seen it from the onset of this revolution that the quote-unquote West is continuously playing catch-up. So, we saw it at the beginning when we were asking the West to wake up and to, talk about this revolution and have news coverage and things like that. And now I almost feel like with the sanctions, we're in the same place. It's almost like, any and every Iranian is now past that point, and we're just begging, the West or whoever else to do something instead of just have those conversations.
But also, I think it's and again, not necessarily do something. Stop enabling.
Well, not in a savior kind of way, but actually take action.
But also, I think we said this about a month ago, which is that it's almost like the Western leaders are hedging their bets, don't believe the revolution is going to happen, or would rather wait for it to fail. And we know all the reasons. We've talked about why Western countries, in some cases, like maybe the United States, would prefer this regime to stay in power. There's, but the fact that this is a situation where you go today in Europe, with this decision, where you go, they're really not that intent on either they don't believe that this revolution is going to happen and this is what the Iranian people want, or they don't want it to happen. They don't want to facilitate in any way that happening. They'd rather sort of pay lip service to condemning bad things that this regime has done, but then try and keep business as usual because the JCPOA, a nuclear deal, could mean billions of dollars.
That's
so
right.
We don't want to jeopardize that.
Well, that's exactly kind of a new fear that was kind of unlocked or revisited when I heard this statement from Joseph Borrell, because in the back of my mind I was thinking, Joseph Borrell, sorry.
I didn't really have a more interesting name than Joseph. Joseph,
what I was thinking is, is he focused on restarting these nuclear talks?
Yes.
And is that why he's, saying, well, no, we need the legal condemnation and we can't move forward with this?
No, because I saw somebody say, like, there was some European, another spokesperson, sorry, I should have know exactly who's saying these things, but somebody say, well, by putting the IRGC on the terrorist list, it's really going to endanger our chances to complete the nuclear deal.
God.
And it's like, well, yes, that's the idea at this point. But again, I don't think the world hasn't caught up to where we're, where the actual Iranian people are at, So, yeah. All right, let's move on to what else is happening. There was, last week we talked about this grassroots, campaign that had sprung up to endorse or sort of support Prince Reza Pahlavi to become the person to oversee a transition. And then there was the backlash to that, or a bunch of people saying, no, I don't want that. And then it's descended into some intra-global Iranian community infighting. That is what I was speaking to in the opening essay. But I'm really hoping we can come out of this without too much symbolic, too many injuries because there's so much attacking happening within the community. And this was the great fear that, this is why we were so also energized by the unity of the Iranian people and the Iranian diaspora. And now over the last few days, it's kind of been horrific to see people. Some people are having reasoned conversations, which is what this, that's great. This is what the democracy, free speech should be about, people actually conversing about these things. Yeah. But then some of it is labeling people and attacking and saying this person has no place and mischaracterizing, and it gets a bit sad.
Yeah, it takes me back to the shaming days where we were seeing, individuals being shamed. What was it, a month ago, less than, or we're still even seeing it sometimes.
Sure, we are. Yeah.
It kind of, for me, it's the same concept. And I like to do some research and come with stats and figures and things like that. And I was actually trying to see if there was a way to look at the hashtags that have been used. So I was looking on Twitter and trying to see if there was any sort of analytics on this. And it's so funny that it's almost a 50-50 split with these hashtags being used of whether or not you are supporting Prince Pahlavi for this election idea or whatever it is, or if you're against. And the conversations that were had, it's such a back and forth, and I couldn't come out of that and say, there's a majority or a minority. It's such a divide, and it's exactly what you're saying. There's some great conversation, but then there's also some.
But then you have to throw the regime cyber army and trolls and bots into that too.
That's exactly it.
You don't, because for sure some of this is being generated, by real humans who are, because we know the Iranian community famously is divided on things. But I'm convinced it's being amplified.
Definitely.
By, the regime that delights in seeing, this is what we were waiting for these guys to try and eat each other, so that we can continue being our barbaric selves and ruling Iran with an iron fist.
And I think that's why, within those conversations, there was a few tweets and a few messages and things like that I saw that were stressing the importance of this unity. And, like you've said in your essay earlier on, that's what we should be focused on, I think, more than anything else, is that unity that we were all so excited about at the beginning of this revolution.
Yeah. I also think people get a little bored. I know that sounds strange, but it's like, if it's been a few months and people want action, and so action translates into tearing somebody down or wanting your person to suddenly be named the leader or whatever it is, and it just shouldn't. Everybody has to take a breath and pause and maintain the focus and try and stay in the same boat together. But yeah.
It's funny, actually, now that you're saying that. I posted something earlier on Instagram, and it was, in the midst of all of this darkness and sadness and everything, there was a tweet about the Farsi language, and it really resonated with me because my Farsi is not that great. And so I wrote something, and underneath it, I actually had to put a disclaimer and say, this isn't for or against any certain coalition or campaign or anything else. And, it's come to a point where you have to put a disclaimer on things. I mean, that's where we're at in terms of how divided we are, which is sad.
Yeah. And you can't have an entirely open dialogue because you're so afraid of something being misconstrued or being labeled as being one side or the other or something like that. You want to say anything about this, Shah?
I want to ask a distracting.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you both called Aghay Pahlavi, you called Prince Pahlavi, and I've seen somewhere that he doesn't call himself.
To be honest, I don't have a rule around. I call him Reza Pahlavi or Prince. I don't. I've seen him called different things. So I'm not. I wasn't doing that in some doctrinaire kind of way.
Yeah,
because,
me too.
No, I mean, because I've seen that some people who are very
supportive of him.
Yeah, they would
want to call him Crown Prince.
No, yes, and also they would get offended if you say Aghay Pahlavi. They said, no, this is not.
Right.
So I wanted to know if you said because of that.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the. We did a episode of the Contemporary History of Iran where I was talking about Farah Diba. And I remember somebody writing me a long letter going, how dare you call her Farah Diba? And I was like, but that was her name.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about the 1960s. And, but yeah, anyway, I mean, yes, so what was your...
No, just question.
Your question was...
It's just in the moment kind of thing for me. Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
Right,
so to speak.
Right. What else do we have?
I wanted to talk about this.
Reza Deghati is coming up.
Yes.
And here we are talking about Arsenal and, so I was talking about Arsenal.
I did want to bring something else up.
Yes.
Congress of International Women. I mean,
no, Congress of Influential.
Influential women,
Yeah.
Influential international, something along those lines. Whatever it is, it's ridiculous. But I had to bring it up.
This is a conference that happened in Iran.
Yes.
Right.
So
the bastion, the great paragon of progressive women's
all of it is just so
liberation.
laughable.
Yeah.
So it was an event hosted by Ibrahim Raisi's wife, who referred to herself as the First Lady of Iran, by the way. Let me just add. And
actually, it's funny because
did she say, was it Prince First Lady? Or
I don't know.
Shai wants to know if they use Crown Prince.
No. On the Congress, she said that the First Lady is the wife of Khamenei. So
okay, interesting.
There's a fight between first lady.
So there's a fight between who's the first lady. Interesting. So anyway, this event was to nominate and I guess bring to light some very influential women, and the individuals who attended were the wives of heads of state from Burkina Faso, Kyrgyzstan, Serbia, Guinea, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, Syria, Turkmenistan, and Armenia. I mean, individuals who are obviously very influential in the fight for
Congress of Influential Women. Yeah,
exactly.
All I saw was that it was kind of ridiculed.
It was,
yeah.
I mean, the conversation, I'm going to get to it, but notable attendees also included Zainab Nasrallah, which is the daughter of the Lebanese Hezbollah leader. And awards were given out at the ceremony. Some of the awards went to influential journalists.
Awards were given out.
Yes, awards were given out. Some of the awards were given to influential female journalists, notably a few from Russia. And I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, even saying it out loud, it's laughable. We're giving out awards to journalists, female journalists, while we're imprisoning our own.
That's right.
Right? And then to move on to the finances of this event, which is even more laughable given the current financial state of the country. 20,000.
Iran being the worst country in the world now, per capita, in terms of its record of imprisoning journalists. Is handing out awards for journalism.
That's right. 20,000 euro prize to every attendee, covered airfare. 5-day accommodation in 5-star hotels.
All right.
And let me just tell you that there was up to 300 individuals, including organizers and quote-unquote dignitaries, who attended. So the economic turmoil that's taking place in the country, and yet we're bankrolling 300 individuals for an event as ridiculous as this.
All right.
Yeah, and in the Sang Qabr,
tombstone.
On the tombstone of the mother of this Khanum Raisi, they didn't mention the name because of Qeirat, and they just wrote on the Sang Qabr that this is a place for the wife of Jomei Mashhad. So
oh God!
Very respectful too.
Okay. Did you hear that? Speaking of women being imprisoned, there was kind of I saw somebody. Did you hear that recording that emerged out of Iran?
Yes.
It was recorded. I don't even actually know how it was. It was recorded on the phone.
That's a phone call
of women singing in the Iranian prison.
One of the women, Aliye Talebzadeh, she's a prisoner. She called her daughter, who is in the United States, I think, and all the women together, they sang the Bella Ciao song. And actually that brought tears to my eyes.
Well, those are the moments where you remember the incredible courage and resilience. I'm guessing that the singing in the prison together doesn't go over so well, so they're just, the resilience is amazing.
And at the end, Narges Mohammadi took the phone and speak to the girl. It was really emotional.
I hadn't heard that until today. And I have goosebumps even right now just talking about it. It was incredible to hear that.
Yeah. All right. That's the Roqe Roundtable. Thank you guys. I should say we're coming to you on Roqe Media. It's there. You can link to all of our platforms. We are on our ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, CastBox. So you can listen to us on any of those or subscribe. If you like to see some visuals with Roqe, switch over to YouTube. At Roqe Media is the YouTube channel. And if you like your Roqe descriptions and bulletins in both Persian and English, check us out on Telegram. Remember, you can subscribe on all these platforms. And if you go to our website, roqemedia.com, it's where you can find back episodes, all of our Uprising content, videos, funnies over the years, our contemporary history series. All of it's there at roqemedia.com, including ways to support us.
Sergeant, can I add one more thing?
Yes.
There is another thing that it was really emotional for me. I just remember Tumaj Salehi. Actually, he from the prison, he asked that are people talking about me outside the prison or no? And so it was really, it's very, how can I say?
He doesn't actually know the extent to which people are. Yeah. This is something that was brought up by, I should actually mention the interview that we did, that I did in the Middle East last week with Hila Sedeghi. We've put we put a clip of the interview, about a 20-minute clip, on Instagram and YouTube. In one day, it's got over 100,000 views of just that clip, and we're going to put up a couple more if you haven't seen that. But I think it's a really important discussion because she is so eloquent and experienced, both in terms of her own experience and the way she's been networking with people who are in jail and coming out of jails in Iran, on the experience of political prisoners in Iran. Speaking of Tumaj, and this is one of the things she talks about, how the well-known people, even those who are being celebrated and feted and thought of as heroes by those of us who are outside of Iran or in, don't necessarily know or are so psychologically broken by the way they're treated, and when they come out there, they continue to be terrorized by this, the IRGC calling them and warning them, and that they live in a kind of a bubble of fear and negativity, or become, as she put it, orphans of their community, in the sense that they lose a sense of who they are. One can only hope that does not happen to Tumaj, and that he is freed, and that he'll know the extent to which people have been advocating for him and loving him. But it's a really, really tough conversation to have, in terms of we, as we say in the interview, talk so much about executions, but even those who are not executed are left incredibly affected by these prison situations that can be torturous in so many ways. So if you haven't heard it and you want to, please check out that interview with Hila Sedeghi on any of our podcast platforms, or the video version on YouTube or on Instagram. Let's get to our first guest, shall we? I know he's waiting in Baku. My first guest today is an Iranian-French legendary photographer, philanthropist, idealist, humanist, and architect. Reza Deghati is a renowned photojournalist and a member of the National Geographic Society's esteemed team of explorers. He famously covered the 1979 revolution in Iran for Agence France Presse and photographed events on the ground for Newsweek until 1981, when he was forced into exile by the Khomeini regime. He has written numerous books. He has created many documentaries, and he is a multiple award winner, including receiving the National Order of Merit in France, the International Center of Photography Infinity Award, and the UNICEF Hope Prize for his work on Rwandan refugee camps. He is an international icon and one of the most important photographers and photojournalists of the last half century. And right now, Reza Deghati joins me from Baku, Azerbaijan today. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Well, it's a great honor to get to talk to you. We've wanted you on the show for a long time, and I hope you'll promise me you'll come back so we can do your career interview and talk about your life, because, of course, today the priority is talking about the uprising in Iran. But I'm so grateful to have you on the program.
Well, thank you for having me. I have heard some of your interviews and your voice, and as a media person, I always wanted to know you, and that's what's happened. Thank you.
I'm honored by that. Thank you, Reza Jan. You were. It occurs to me you're in Baku. You were born in Tabriz, not too far from where you are now. If we can jump into this conversation of what's happening in Iran at present. What's it like to be observing what is happening in Iran today from the close proximity of where you are right now? It occurs to me that a legendary journalist, photojournalist like yourself, always wants to be in the middle of the action. Are you tempted to want to run across the border and be following what's happening from as close as you can?
Well, this is the hidden agenda, hidden part of what I'm here, because I always been in a lot of times in the past 40 years when story happening, being in the heart of the story. And what's happening now these days or these weeks in Iran, it is the part of the turning page and the heart of the history. So being here, it makes me more closer. First of all, feeling that I had, it's, here in Azerbaijan, it looks like I'm part of Iran. Iran, Azerbaijan, or Azerbaijan here, it's exactly the same place. It's, the same culture, same ethnic groups, same people. So being here, for me, that I haven't been in Iran for almost 42 years now, it's given me a sense of the family, a sense of the same land, the same culture, and being close to what is going to happen, which is going to be we will be soon the end of this criminal mafia that has been running Iran over 43 years now.
Let me come back to what it's like in the community that you're in Baku in terms of how other people are processing what's going on in Iran. But if I can, let's zoom out first. And by the way, I totally, I of course don't have your experience, but I keep going. Over the last few months, I've been to Istanbul and Beirut and Dubai and UAE and all these places that are. And people say, "Why do you keep going over there?" And I say, because I want to get as close as I can to Iran. I can't go to Iran, so I want to be as close as I can. I feel the action is, and I want to witness it. I want to do the stories from there. Let me try and zoom out as we start this conversation and get a perspective from you, because you are uniquely qualified to be able to give us a perspective. You have seen so much around the world, and in particular, volatile situations, revolutions, crises, from Rwanda to Cuba, Libya, Afghanistan, hundreds of countries around the world, or I don't know, 150 countries, whatever it is that you've covered. If you think about all of what you've seen and try to do a comparison, how do you situate the current revolt in Iran? Does this feel like significant change is imminent?
Definitely, it is very, very important and significant what's happening. Let me go back into what you were telling about my experience. 40 years of covering almost all the wars and conflict, being in the eye of the storm, seeing what's happening to the people of the war, the reality, the real 75% of the humanity, how they live, and obviously living in Paris, working in New York, Washington. So I have been between these extremes all the times, going and coming between these two worlds all the times. What I have learned during the wars, which later made me to do what I am doing, was that the only way to get rid of the wars for the humanity in a long term, I'm not talking about 1 or 2 years or 10 years, I'm talking about the long term, the generation. We are able to get rid of the war one condition is that having more women in decision making of the whole world, having more women in education, in culture, in communication, in governance model, in a very high level. Nowadays, the women are only 5 to 10% maximum of those decision-making places. That brought me to start first in Afghanistan, creating NGO, creating a school of the journalism for the women. It was in 2001, which I thought the best way which I can do is train women in those countries to become writer, journalists, filmmakers, and so spread this knowledge to the world, to their own community. 20 years ago, when I started, there was almost non-journalists, women journalists. 20 years after, we have trained more than 1,000 Afghan women becoming writer, journalists, creating their own radio station. Even now, Taliban has taken over of my NGO and everything is gone. But what you see in the Kabul streets now, for 1 year, we have seen only the women are protesting. This is the reason. This is one of the way that I was able to participate in what's happening now in the world. Why is important what's happening in the world? Importance is historical. It is not just for Iran. That finally, in the history, the woman of the world that has been oppressed, that has been, looking them as second citizens.
Yep.
Look what the Quran said about women. It's even not considering them as a second citizen. Look, some of the mullahs was talking about women, saying that these are your animals and cows and ships, and the women are the same. This is what some of the mullahs was telling when talking to the people. So the revolution happening in Iran, which is by the women, it is the beginning in the world history of the women revolution. And why I believe it's so, again, because the women are the one that suffer more of all the wars. The women are the one that's suffering more of the poverty in the world. The women are the one that's suffering in any dictated countries. So that's finally the biggest number of the people in the world. I mean, if you say these are the half of the humanity, and for centuries, but the half of the humanity, they were oppressed. And now they are rising up. The same way that's happened when the slaves they came out. Exactly, this is one of the historical moments of the humanity, that people that have been oppressed and still they are oppressed much and suffering more than everybody, now they are uprising. And they will take the world with them. That's why it's very important.
Well, as we've said many times too in recent weeks and months, they're not just changing Iran, they're changing the world, the young women and the youth of Iran in general, in fact, this new generation. But how do you, part of what I'm curious, what you learned from your experience, that's a great perspective, what you've just given us. As well, how do is there a way to taste whether change is imminent? In other words, one of the things that we've heard, for example, about dictatorships and revolutions is that, first of all, they don't always happen overnight. It takes weeks and months, etc. But that just before a dictatorship falls, everything can look tranquil and normal and as if they're in power and with an iron fist and unmovable, and then something can trigger things if there's enough resistance, if there's enough dissent bubbling under, that it can suddenly fall. How, like I say, with your experience of having seen this, having covered this in countries all over the world, do you have a taste for that in terms of what's happening in Iran right now?
The sign which I have seen is from two different parts. One is inside, national, and another one is international and outside. Let's first talk about outside and international. Till now, the Iranian regime, these mullahs, how they are considered in the world, who they are supporting them. Let's say that what are the countries now that they are supporting Islamic Republic? We have North Korea, Venezuela, Syria, China, Russia, and Armenia. These are the 6 countries that they are supporting and helping Islamic Republic. Now, out of those 6, Armenia has his own problem, and we know why he's supporting Iran. Venezuela, Syria, North Korea, all of them, they are just nominated. They can't help Iran. In some cases, even Iran helping them. So China and Russia. China, a couple of weeks ago, the president of China, he went to participate in the biggest gathering of the Arab countries. The Arab countries that Iran Islamic Republic consider as the enemy. The countries that Iran Islamic Republic always say that we're going to attack you, we're going to attack you, we're going to attack you. And what was the outcome of this China president with the Arab countries was 2 manifesto against Islamic Republic. So the China showed that even Iran has signed one of the most shameful contracts of the history of Iran, to giving the open hand to China, whatever they want to do. Still with this, China preferred to be part of the countries that Iran considers as an enemy. Now we have Russia left only.
Although China is still buying the oil and funding a lot of
course, getting it, but he is not anymore political supporting of Iran. That's important. They don't understand that he cannot count on the China. So we have now only Russia left, and Russia dragged Iran in the Ukraine war. So this is giving another weak part of the Iran. And Armenia has no mean of the helping Iran. Armenia itself need the Iranian help. That's why they are supporting Iran. In this case, Iran has lost almost every single international support. What's happening inside of Iran, one of the most significant things that happen in Iran, which later I'm sure that all the historian and the researcher will do a lot of research about it and work about it. And it may even became an example of how a regime fall down, how an ideology is finishing. It is what in Iran was famous called Ammam Parani. I don't know how you could translate this Ammam Parani in English. This is where all the young...
Where they knock off the turbans? Is that the...
Yes, exactly. This is not a small thing. This, in the history of Iran, will be remembered because the turban of the mullahs has always considered of being the most sacred element. This is what is considered in Iran. The turban of the mullahs, there are ceremonies of the giving them turban when they became a mullah, and all of them make this very sacred. And mullahs themselves, before this, people, even if they were chanting this to Khamenei, this to Ayatollah or whatever, they were not really attacking the mullahs. With this attack of the knocking off the turban by young generation, this is very important. This is the generation that also I have been in contact and touch with them over decades. And I know not only in Iran, but in many other countries, by the training which I have, by teaching in the schools, in universities, I know that this generation, they are going to change also the world. And the knocking the turban is the sign of the end of what was the ideology of the Islam in Iran, the ideology of the accepting this Islamic Republic. So they have lost also this part of it in Iran.
That's such an interesting perspective, because, and a helpful one, because on the one hand, I've been sort of looking at that. I mean, you could look at it and sort of say, well, this is a superficial, schoolyard gesture of doing these things. How does that really form any kind of testimonial towards a revolution? But you're saying this is the underpinnings of this suggests that this regime has lost its, it seems like an obvious point to make, but lost any legitimacy in the eyes of even young people who will not stoop to showing any respect for these guys, and that this is a major gesture for us to observe, huh?
Definitely. Just give an example. The military people, the sign that, I don't know what to call, the sign that have here, the grade, is also considered as sacred. And when the people, they wanted to get rid of someone, the sacred military, they grab and they tear it down. And the military people, when it's tear down, it is the end of the story.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening in Iran now. The knocking off the turban over centuries that was considered as being sacred and not touchable, it is gone. So,
but to those who say, I mean, I was at a gathering yesterday. There was a demonstration in Toronto, and I saw a couple of people yesterday who said, we're very depressed because we feel like 2 months ago everybody was singing the Shervin song and there were thousands of people in the streets in Iran, and it feels like now this regime has sort of, through its barbaric ways and its fear campaigns and its executions and all that, grappled, has clawed its way back into putting this down, suppressing things. What would be your response to them?
The one response to it that I have, which I have seen also in other countries, is what we call it in the fire under the ashes. This is a fire under the ashes. This is what the last moment of the regime, that they have been trying by any way, as we have seen, they have done in the past 4 months, the most incredible and unhuman and brutal criminal way to stop the people. They shot them in the eyes. As you have seen, many of people, they have been blind. They arrest him. They went into home, arresting young girls and attacking them in the prison or their own houses as a sexual assault, a group sexual assault. They have done everything that possible, and it's still yet people not giving up. They have been always up and down. Even in many revolution, I have seen like few months, nothing was happening, and suddenly again was jumping out. So this fire under the ashes, it is still there. The government, what I have done by putting more ashes in it, but it is not going to, they cannot extinguish the fire because of many reasons, many sociological reasons, historical reasons, that it is gone. It is the end of it. one of the reason to find out that the big guys in the regime, they are giving up, it's the number of the houses, villas that is bought in the past couple of months in Turkey or in other countries. So there is a lot of sign that the government people, the highway,
that they know themselves that their days are numbered.
They know about it. Definitely they know about it. The number of big villas now on the sale in the Iranian newspaper, it just shows, and all of those villas that is on the sale, and you can see that some of them like million of dollar, really, which is, you know, that this is belonging to such a minister or such a revolutionary guard general or whatever, and they are selling even. So by doing this on the newspaper openly, they show that well, we are living. We are living. We have no future here.
Reza, can I just take 3 steps back, because I think I cut you off because I was asking about China still buying oil. You had talked about, in terms of the outside of Iran, effects of how you see this regime on its last legs. You talked about some of the countries that have effectively are kind of powerless in this situation or have been neutralized, the Venezuela, North Korea, etc. You talked about China losing the political support of China. I think I cut you off when it comes to Russia. What is your indication that Iran has somehow lost Russia?
No, Iran has never had Russia with him. Russia, over the centuries, if you look back to the history of Iran, it was always the oppressor. Russia has always played with Iran as a big mafia guy who is getting something out of Iran. That's what Russia has done over the centuries. Russia has never been a friend of Iran. Russia has made alliance in the history with Armenia attacking Persia. Russia has made alliance with the other countries to get the wealth of Iran. Russia is the one that got the Caspian Sea out of Iran. Russia is the one that sabotage the Iranian deal for the nuclear power with the Western countries. Russia is the one that in Syria is giving open hand to Israeli airplane to attack Iranian wherever they want, while the Russia was allowed and get to Syria by the help of Iran also. So Russia has always, over the centuries, has used Iran, never helping him, never showing any sympathy even to Iran. You remember, I don't know how they received the Raisi, the president. He was just almost thrown out after meeting Putin of the palace, waiting in the cold weather, snow for the car. And they show it, the Russian TV, on purpose. They were showing that, look how we train Iranian president. Look how we do it. It's just nothing. So Russia is helping Iran. Russia had never helped Iran. Russia now, he drag even Iran in the Ukraine war because he need Iran. That's why never it showed sympathy to Iran, and always get the wealth of Iran, always get the oil of Iran, gas of Iran. Iran has to do whatever Russia wanted.
I want to ask you about the international community because of, again, the experience you have, some of which is working with NGOs, working with UNICEF, working with in different parts of the world, and with how the international community can address crises and uprisings, etc. There is a sentiment that you must be aware of in the Iranian community around the world that Iran hasn't been, I mean, notwithstanding now we've seen a couple of resolutions in the United Nations and the European Parliament last week, etc. But that Iran and the situation in Iran hasn't gotten the kind of attention and support around the world that something like the Ukrainian crisis has. And that for months, many of us were sort of screaming, where is UNICEF when they're killing children in the streets? What is your perspective on why that has been the case?
Well, this is unfortunate that I have been living it again, over 40 years of my experience in the media, that people somehow they show an interest through the policy of their own government. Let's say in this way that unfortunately, many of the Western government, they have big interest of having an Islamic Republic ex-song, which is very weak, so they can do whatever they want. The same way Russia doing with Iran, the same way China doing with Iran. So having a weak Iran inside the governance, but with the guns showing over the neighbors, it is helping in many ways the Western countries.
They don't want regime change. They don't want regime change.
Yeah, no, they don't want it, because look, if you look in past 4 or 5 years, how many $1 billion the US and the European of the munition and arm they sold to Saudi Arabia, to all the Gulf countries, to all the neighboring countries. Why they were buying this? There was one check of the $110 billion that Trump and the sold to Saudi Arabia. Why they do this? Because they're afraid of Iran. If Iran tomorrow said, okay, I don't want to attack, I don't have a gun, I'm just living in here, let me live. So who is going to buy all those weapons? Nobody. This is, and we are talking about a couple of $100 billion of arms sales. A couple of $100 billion if you put all this together. So all the countries around Iran, they have to be afraid of Iran if they keep the Iranian this way, so they can sell the arms. Now, knowing that a lot of countries' public opinion is made by the government run or by mainstream media, that's how we are not able to really shake the world public opinion. Because what's happening in Iran, it's totally unhuman. Because when I'm explaining to European and the US people personally, this is what's happening, many of them, they said, you know, we haven't seen it. It is true.
Right.
It is maybe in the social media, but look at the mainstream medias. They're just, somehow it's going like a 10 seconds of advertising, just a few seconds and it's gone. So that's why we Iranian people, we still have a lot of patience. We know that we are right. We know that we will gain finally the liberty that looking for Iranian women, they will do the revolution, but it's coming with a very painful price. And one of those painful price is the knowing that European and the US government, they don't want to change. They want to, even China and Russia, they want them to be there. But even all those comes together. You know, there is a very famous saying, say that all the darkness of the world cannot extinguish the light of a small candle. Now, all the darkness of the world, including Islamic Republic, including Taliban, including all those Western government that they want to keep the Islamic Republic, the candle is Iranian revolution.
Yeah.
They will not be able to extinguish the light of this candle. And I'm 100% confident that the light of this small candle will become more and more and will give the light to the world.
So it's beautifully said. I know I've only got a few minutes left with you here. Let me ask you this before I let you go, and I look forward to, I should hope, talking to you again. You were there in the 1979 revolution. You were covering it. You've taken famous photographs. You were covering the early years where the Khomeinyists consolidated power, co-opted the revolution, and took power over a period of years and started a murderous reign that, as you say, has gone on for 44 years. Reza, what can we learn from those days to not repeat now?
Well, the world has changed a lot. What I have learned that the social media has created a new generation in the world. This young generation that they could be Iranian or American or Argentinian or from Uganda. They have much more things in the common that our generation, that we were always only learned and educated in our country. And one of the important things that I learned is that those generation, they don't have leaders. The same thing that happened in Iran without leader. There was no leader in this past 4 months. So we saw what's happened when the people get around the Khomeini as a leader, and he was able to bring the people. But then we saw the danger of having a leader, what could be happen. Especially that in Iran, our education is still oriented of the one person mentality. And even I have seen the best person in the world, when they got the power, being corrupted by power. Power is a virus. I know about it. I have seen people, fantastic people, that they were the most human people that you could imagine. The minute that they got the power, the virus get in their mind, and over months or years, they became the worst dictator.
Is this to say that, do you believe then that all of this chatter that's happening in social media right now in some places in the Iranian community, that I endorse this person or we should have this person as our leader or whatever, do you believe that is premature, that is, or problematic even?
I mean, it is not only premature, but somehow it's also is helped by Islamic Republic. I see the hand of Islamic Republic in this situation now, what's happening, because before this we had a lot of people, fantastic people themselves, self-made people, that they were up on the social media, that they were really giving fantastic line to the people, how to go, where to go, and they were preparing some demonstration which was followed by everybody. So what the British famous say, that divide to govern.
Divide and conquer.
Yes. So Islamic Republic was able to divide this group by creating this, giving a whatever they call it to this such a person or not. So it is very, very dangerous happening now, and it may bring a long-term halt even to this. May bring. I'm not 100% sure. So this is, I can see how dangerous is it, because I have seen in 57 when Khomeini arrived and everybody saw Khomeini on the moon. The Iranian, unfortunately, we have been under monarchies and then Shia over 2,500 years, monarchies, or more, and under the Shia for a few centuries. With all of them is giving only one way to look into the story. Even when the dynasty from father to son, this is what for 2,500 years Iranian were brought up. Even when we take this Islam as a religion, we invented dynasty. We invented dynasty of Ali and his sons and his son and his cousin till the 12 that disappeared. So even in this way, in Shia, we were brought up looking for a leader, looking for a dynasty. The leaders of this revolution are on the street and are on the prison. You yes. get the name of the prisoner. Yes. These are the leaders of
yes.
Iran.
Yes.
And
yes.
many of them that they are outside, but they don't consider themselves as a leader. They don't yes. want people looking to them as a leader.
Just finally, before I let you go, I said I wanted to ask you about what it's like to be in Baku in terms of what you're witnessing in the community there. How would you characterize people in Baku in Azerbaijan in terms of their reaction to what's happening across the border in Iran right now?
What I see here, the people are very sad about what's happening in Iran. The people, they don't understand that the mullahs could do this because, here still, like many of the former Soviet Union countries, religion is something like was in Iran before Islamic Republic, was personal a lot. So for 40 years, which I have witnessing that Iran government, they were trying by all means to influence people here, to bring them toward them. But now that the people, they see what they have done, the mullahs, what they are able to do, they are very conscious that this is not the way, that they don't want to have any religious governance. They don't want to have any religious ideology, because the way that they are living here, it's like almost when you are in the Baku, you may see that this is one of the European countries here, the place here. Even if they have been in a war for 30 years, even if the 20% of their land was occupied for 28 years, and still they are recovering, even if they had 1 million refugees out of 10 million people, but they are recovering now. And they're looking to the Iran, always saying that two things, which I heard here. Why Iran mullahs over 30 years helping Armenia to kill Azerbaijanis? This is the reality here. The question, why Islamic Republic over past 30 years was helping Armenia, giving them everything possible to attack Azerbaijan. And the second is why this religious people, they're acting in this way. Why where in the religion they learn doing this crime?
Right.
This is what's happening here.
Reza Deghati, your insights are so valuable. I'm so grateful for the time you've given us. I do hope you'll come back, and I can't thank you enough for the time today.
Thank you very much, and I wish you best, and I hope that soon we will see that Iranian people, they will reach what they look for.
Merci. Thank you again. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Khuda Hafiz.
This dream I'm dreaming, won't you wake me up tonight? 'Cause this life I'm living doesn't really feel like mine. This strange dream I'm dreaming, if it ain't wrong, it don't feel right. Never thought you were leaving. never thought I'd have to start again.
This is Roqe episode 232, The Uprising. The Islamic Republic wins when we are divided. Let's get to our next guest and go to Los Angeles. He is an internationally acclaimed Iranian-American composer and musician. Hamid Saeidi is the co-founder of Opium Moon, a band who took home that Grammy Award for their debut album in the Best New Age Album category in 2019. Hamid was born and raised in Tehran. He got a degree in music from the Iranian Academy of Arts, where he studied composition. Since leaving Iran, he's performed all over the world and has composed musical scores for more than 35 films, for TV programs, dance and theatrical presentations. Hamid has been based in Los Angeles, where he writes, produces, and teaches since 2009. He and his group have dedicated their latest work, which is a collaboration with Hengame, called Woman, Life, Freedom. They've dedicated it to the women of Iran and those who advocate for human rights all around the world. Take a listen to this. Taste of Opium Moon with Hengame, and a new track released last week called Woman, Life, Freedom, dedicated to those advocating for human rights in Iran and around the world. That features co-founder and composer Hamid Saeidi on santur. You heard a bit of a solo there. And right now, Hamid Saeidi joins me from Los Angeles today. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jian John. How are you? I'm so glad to be with you and with everyone who's listening to us.
Nice to have you back on the show, brother. It's nice to have you back. And it's so interesting listening to that. I'm not used to Opium Moon sounding as much like a pop band, a pop rock song as you do in that one.
Actually, with them, we want to try this route recently. We want to bring something new to our table as a instrumental band. So we collaborated with Hengame and Supreme Being of Leisure for this song, and it's going to be our very first song from the new album. We're going to release the album this year on late September, and this is the first single that we're going to release. That we released. We're going to release another single in I believe next month. We're gonna release 3 singles, and then we're gonna release the entire album.
I mean, I know this music is as much or much more so about the message and who you've dedicated it to and what it's all about. But just on a musical point, and given our last conversation when you were on the show talking about how one of the things that you all love as sort of maestros of the instruments that you play is the freedom and the improvisation of Opium Moon. Does it feel like a bit of a straitjacket to be playing a song like that where you have to sort of go to the chorus and fit into a structure?
To be honest with you, we always try to keep our essence and keep our signature, whatever we are doing, as a Opium Moon, as a band. So I think it's a very same, and we learned. I'm going to be very honest. We learned to be a little bit, to accept the structure of the song, and not play for 11 minutes solo or something, or we are producing shorter songs actually recently. We're gonna stay, we try to stay with 3 minutes, 4 minutes maximum 5 minutes. It is a little bit difficult. It is difficult to keep that essence from our prior albums and do this, but it's a new challenge, and I personally love it. Everybody else is in the band love this new way, and we are trying new thing. It's our mission always to do something new, at least for ourselves.
You're like the Beatles in reverse. You started with the expansive, experimental, late period stuff, and now you're going to the early period, shorter pop songs. Let's get serious about what you've wanted to do with this. I know, just following you on social media and knowing you a little bit, you've been preoccupied as many of us have, of Iranian descent around the world, with the uprising, with the events of the last 4 or 5 months. Interestingly, while a lot of musicians and bands have done tribute songs or songs that they've dedicated or have been inspired by this revolution, you in particular, I saw you say in an interview that you wanted to create a new song to reach out to more than just Iranians when it comes to the message of this uprising for democracy, for women, life, freedom. Tell me about the desire to reach non-Iranians.
From the very first day of this revolution, actually, we as international band, we try to connect with non-Iranian artists and non-Iranian groups. I thought that this is at least my mission to do that. I start talking to. In the academy, I start talking to voting member in the academy, Grammy-winning artists, and try to involve them and try to let them know what is going on. Because we Iranian, we know what is going on. We are dealing with this regime for last 43 years. We exactly know what is going on, and I do not know anyone who is not aware of the situation in Iranian who's not aware of the situation in Iran in past at least 20 some years, and everybody is trying to do something against this regime, actually, or anyone who I know is trying to do something against this regime.
Some of us feel the problem. Sorry to cut you off. Some of us feel the problem sometimes is that everybody isn't trying to do something in the Iranian community. But I understand your point that certainly in terms of awareness, you don't have to win over an Iranian to what the regime is or whatever. But the non-Iranian community is a different issue.
Exactly, and we need. People who can we need effective people outside of our community, and I've been trying to connect to them, and recently for this song we decided to make a song to involve more of people who are not aware what is going on in Iran, and make it as simple as possible. And work with these 3 amazing words and this slogan or Zan Zendegi Azadi, which is the most beautiful I think slogan that we created in entire history. So as Iranian, so we were focused on these 3 words, and then for Farsi part, we asked Hengamejan to join us, and she was kind enough to come and kind enough to do whatever she can to make this. Actually, I met Hengamejan a couple of times in different gathering and different parties or different events, but through Dr. Katie Amiri Younesi, who is my lawyer, and she introduced us to her and asked her to join us for this song. We were looking for some Persian singer, female singer, and we got connected with her, and we are extremely, we as Opium Moon and I personally are extremely we are happy for this collaboration with him.
Do you know what? You know what? It's an interesting piece because my first reaction in hearing it was to think it's not particularly angry. It's not like one of those punk rock anthems, you know, Storm the Gates or something. And it's not particularly mournful either. It's not a Gamgeen song, you know. It's sort of and it raises the question of tone, which is something that I know you've been contending with or thinking about, even when I do an interview like this, still 4 or 5 months into this, you know, as we joked off the top of the interview, it's kind of like, well, is this okay? Is it okay for us to joke? Because we're aware of the seriousness of what is happening in Iran, and at the same time, we're also aware that we don't service anybody by just keeping our heads moping around and only being sad and angry with 24/7 consistency. Back in November, you were honored with your 3rd Grammy Award nomination, and you wrote on Instagram at the time, honestly, when you're nominated for a Grammy Award, right, in the middle of blood, anger, fire, and strike, you don't even know if it's right to announce it. Is it important at all? Does it distract attention from the main issue? Anyway, I struggled and consulted and came to the conclusion that I should announce and present this nomination to the revolutionary movement of brave Iranian people. Anyway, we got nominated for a Grammy Award for the 3rd time with Amazing White Sun. It's a huge honor that you got nominated, but and I'm grateful that you shared your own battle around how you felt about sharing information and seeming to celebrate something in Los Angeles while people are living in difficult conditions or trying to make change in Iran. Tell me about the struggle to not promote our accomplishments when we're in a revolutionary time.
Again, I really want to make a difference between. Not make a difference. I want to say that when we are making something for non-Iranian, we are trying to connect with different culture. We should follow that culture and see how that culture accepts the information. So we are in our culture, in our history, we are very, very, very okay and. We are expert on mourning and crying and being sad and if some of us lose somebody, everybody knows how to get together and how we're gonna go through grieving and how we're gonna cry all of us together and how we're gonna do this. But for other culture, it is not like that. Even especially American culture, they try to make something positive out of even grieving somehow. So and make it somehow useful for their future, for whatever is happening next. So that's why we try to not make this song revolutionary, because it isn't people outside of non-Iranian people are not doing the revolution. We Iranian are doing revolution.
Right.
Not make it as you said, sad song or Gamgeen song as other to just cry or something like that, because our target audiences was that they do not accept this kind of grieving, and try to be informative, try to in a certain way, in abstract way, in artistic way, try to say what is going on in Iran, and even but with this amazing artist who put together the video. We were talking for a long time, and the first thing that came to our mind as Iranian is so women is women and it's white, and the other character gonna be male, black male artist who's doing the dance with the white character, and I was extremely against that. And I think it is not, it's not a battle between it's something inside our culture. It is not about male or female. It is the part that the black part or dark part that all of us somehow we have because of this culture and because of this regime in our soul. So I hope I'm clear. I'm so sorry. I just saying that I had another interview, 1 hour interview this morning in Farsi, and my brain doesn't switch.
No, it's okay. I understand what you're saying, that it's something endemic in our culture that we're trying to shift. It's not as simple as just saying it's about race or gender or something like that, is what you're maybe saying? Exactly. So, but on the note about not wanting to celebrate the Grammy nomination, or not wanting to seem boastful about it, I suppose it is tough. I mean, I think we've gotten to a bit of a different place now, 4 or 5 months in, where I think collectively are realizing we can't. It's unrealistic to forever not post a picture of our dog on celebrating his bone or something, doing something or some fun event or something, because we're dedicated to the revolution. But at the same time, if more executions, God forbid, were announced today, you would feel a bit stupid saying, "Hey, I'm nominated for a Grammy Award." So you have to kind of walk that line. How did you feel after you did come out and say it?
Actually, I felt very supported from our community, and I really felt very supported. But for now, I think we should be aware that we are at the middle of a sort of war with this regime, and we need to keep our energy. We need to keep our emotions and our strength to be able to go to this sort of battle or sort of war. And there's a possibility that this battle, we need to do this for a long time, for a year. I hope we, this definitely that they're not gonna stay in power for sure for a long time. But we don't know, maybe 2 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. So we need to be prepared, and we need to be aware that we need to manage our energy and manage our mind to stay in power, to put pressure on this regime as much as we can. So I think for us the first step is to be aware of each other's, be aware of our friends, be aware of the people who are not our friends, but they are fighting too, and we be aware that all of us have very, very same agenda, same target for freedom, and for people in Iran, and to put pressure on this regime, and not get to not waste our energy with sadness, too much sadness. I totally understand this situation is, we went through disasters, and it was so difficult for all of us to accept that the very, very young, our children somehow in a very, very young age are going through this unbelievable torture and unbelievable, get killed for being on the street, or get executed for dancing on the street, or just protesting or something like this. It was too much pressure. I know we've been so sad. We are still sad. I absolutely understand, but I think our mission is to put pressure on this regime.
Yeah.
And we have to keep our energy. We have to manage.
It's not, if I may, it's not just the not wanting the energy to be sapped by sadness, but also by what I called in the opening essay of this today's show, the concern about distractions. You know, that the regime wants us divided and wants us distracted. It benefits their potential maintenance of power to have Iranians, whether inside Iran but across the diaspora as well, fighting with each other. And you've talked a fair bit about the pride and energy you've felt in the last few months, the unity of Iranians around the world, this time wanting to make change in Iran. And a lot of us have felt that, and I've said the same things, and talked about the rebirth of Iranian pride and these amazing demonstrations we've been at, and that Berlin demonstration of 100,000 people and 80,000 here in Toronto, all of that. At the same time, Hamid, it seems that more recently there's a fair bit of infighting. There's different people in the diaspora coming up with different prescriptions or solutions that is causing there to seemingly be more time spent debating how we feel about who we want to lead or doesn't, or whatever, than in focusing on this regime. How do we mitigate against that in your view?
I think let me be very clear between different sort of opposition that we have. I'm with Shahzadeh. This is my personal choice, but I think in this, I think he is our best choice. But I have only one vote, and I'm absolutely open to other votes as well. And also, I think we as a people who think Shahzadeh is best choice, or I think I as a person who thinks Shahzadeh is our best choice for talking about us. I think it's the time for people like me to do not put pressure on and accent on this again. We are asking other people to let's be united and let's get together, and at the same time we are putting big accent of our choice. And I think it is not okay. It is not okay for us to put too much accent on this, and it's not for other people to how can I say that? There is no need to freak out about this thing. Nothing is going to happen. It is not about we are giving the entire our sarnevisht or our future in his hand or something.
No, but the flip that. But let me push back based on we just had Reza Deghati right before you in Baku, the great photojournalist, and his concern, as he articulated it, was this is premature and it leads to us again. This serves the regime. He in fact thinks that the regime stokes some of the trolling of different groups in the diaspora, which wouldn't be a surprise, of course, but that this is the concern, that it takes the eye off the prize, if you will. And so, how do you feel about that when somebody says that?
Actually, I accept that, and I think it was premature. To be honest with you, it was too early for us. But let's. I think we need to go one step back and think a little bit freer, and not be concerned about different things, not be concerned about our future in 3 years, and see politically what we're going to do, if we are pro or against any kind of idea, a political idea. So let's I suggest that we go one step back and forget about this thing, and be more focused about what is the most important thing for us.
Does it bother you? Do you get personally? Does it bother you if Ghomeshi comes out as she did and says, "I don't think we should be endorsing Prince Reza Pahlavi," or something like that? I mean, do you take offense at that somehow?
No, to be honest with you, no. This is, we are fighting to be, the main idea about this revolution is to hear the people who are against, who have some idea against my idea. So we need to learn this. We need to practice this. Ghomeshi or anybody else who has a different idea, I really, really appreciate them. And it is lovely that we are learning to talk with each other and not fight.
I hope so.
But I hope so. Yeah. But we are. Let's be honest. This is new for us. This is very, very new for us. This is. We have to practice. We need to remind ourselves every day what is important, the most important, what is our agenda, and remember that we are fighting to be able to have different voices and different, to have the conversation with different people who are against us, and after the conversation say, okay, you have one vote, I have one vote, let's do this and see what's going to happen. I think that this is the most thing that we need to keep in our mind as Iranian.
By the way, I mean, speaking of the distractions, I mean, when the debate descends into who should he be leader, shouldn't he be leader, to me that's not even what the original intent, I thought, of this petition or these things that started was that who can oversee a sort of transition. It wasn't like, let's vote for the leader now, but that gets lost in this
exactly in
community debate.
In a chaos that I think, and at the other hand, I felt so sorry for honestly for Shahzadeh. I felt sorry for him. The poor guy is just trying to do something.
He didn't start the petition.
And I know the poor guy is not happy about this, to put this much of pressure and work on anybody. It's a huge responsibility. It is difficult, and I don't know. It's very interesting that some people are passionately against this person. It's very interesting. And
does that surprise you? I mean, you know that.
Yes, actually, it's surprise for me. The other I'm not in a situation to talk about politics. I do not know anything about politics. I'm an artist. I know what is going on in society, and this is affect me to work. And before this kind of thing, I was saying, situation in Iran and whatever people are fighting is not about about politics. When we say politics, it's like in the U.S. you're fighting, you're Republican and fighting with Democrat and writing something and debating, and this is politics. When you're seeing the people are getting killed, the very young people are getting killed on the street because of nothing. It's not about politics. It's not about humanity. Politics is too luxury for this situation. And it is about humanity. And that's why everybody is fighting and everybody is against it. Every artist are talking. Every artist are trying to help. Because it's not about politics. It's politics. It's too luxury for this situation.
It's interesting. So, let me just ask you before it's always good to talk to you, Hamid, and I appreciate you coming on. You're always you're a straight shooter too, and you're very open about how you're feeling. One of the things we talked about last time you were on the show is your dear mother had recently died. You lost your mom in recent years, and you were not able, if I recall, to travel back to Iran even for the funeral. This was really, really heartbreaking for you, obviously. Tell me what a different free Iran would mean to you and what you would most want to do there, thinking about your mom.
The free Iran for me, for me personally, is to be able to seriously. I think this is my right to be able to see my. So it is not again. I'm gonna shoot it one more. It is too much. Still, it's too painful.
Yeah.
Free Iran for me is to be able to go back and visit my mom, or visit her place, or visit her tomb. Free Iran, on the other hand, for me is the place that Iranian people start making progress for their lives, and we start to help each other for better life. I'm insisting on better life because, to be honest with you, I'm as I told, I'm not a political person. I do not care if I'm in what kind of political regime is having power in in Iran. It doesn't matter. I think the most important thing for me is people having a better life, and people having hope, and people having better future, and imagine better future for themselves or their children, and don't be under this much of pressure, any kind of pressure. So I personally, the first thing that I wish and I want for free Iran is for people to have a better life. I do not care who is leading the country, and I do not care who is having power or not having power, to be very clear.
It's a great reminder too that sometimes what we're really talking about, I mean, what you're saying is, because so much of the conversation happens at the level of competing ideologies, and this is what structure do we want for the Iran, and what is it going to look like, and who's the leader, and all of, and you're really talking about wanting to visit your family. I mean, I grew up in the West after the revolution, being unable to see my grandparents. There's grandparents of mine that I never saw before they died, and family that I've never been able to go and see in Iran after I was a little kid. And these are very personal things. You know, there was a moment a couple of months ago when we were talking to one of the protesters. I think she was in Mashhad and you know, on the front lines, and we had changed her name and we were sort of protecting her. And she was this, you know, supposedly like this sort of powerful feminist woman who's on the front lines. And I said, what do you really want, you know, in a free Iran? She said, to be able to walk my dog and
Wow.
wear the clothing I want. And you think, oh my God, this is what this is really about. Just simple, basic freedoms to see our family or walk a dog.
Exactly. You know, we are fighting for. That's why I insist that it doesn't matter the ideology or you know, politics in this situation. The things that we need are extremely simple. You know, it sometimes when you're talking about this situation with non-Iranian who doesn't have any experience what is going on, sometimes they are looking at us and say, are you insane? How is it possible? Why? And again, you don't know how to explain this is why people are fighting. This is about 1 inches of you know, the shawl or scarf to be here or here. This is stupid in 21st century to fight for this and get killed.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's an insane situation.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is insane. So we are we should keep in our mind. I believe the majority of people in Iran are fighting for a very, very simple thing, and you know, just talk about the political ideas and then you know, the future power and things in after 10 years after Islamic Republic. It is not right in this moment, and it is too early to talk about those kind of things.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Congratulations on the imminent new record. When does this album come out that we're talking about?
Yeah, we are planning to release this album late September.
Oh,
actually.
Okay. It's but the lead off, one of the first tracks from its singles, is the one that you released last week, and well, maybe we'll have to have you back on then before the album comes out. What I really want is for you to come visit Toronto and come perform live in our studio. So when you guys start touring again, if you're coming up this way, you know, make me a promise that you'll at least consider it.
I would love to do that. Definitely, we're going to do that. Definitely, we are a little by little getting back to the you know, to the having shows and stuff like that, and you know, prepare for shows. You know, after COVID, immediately we went to Revolution, and you know, and one of the things that was very interesting, that it was very difficult to explain for non-Iranian, was that during the revolution or during this situation, our society doesn't like any concert or any gathering. It was very
in the beginning, at least. It was people were frowned upon for performing gigs. And you canceled some shows, didn't you?
I canceled that. Yes, I canceled you know, a couple of shows, and you know, I'm getting back to shows. I'm gonna perform next week, but I think this is the time for us to come back, and this is the time for us to again learn to whatever tools that we have.
Yes,
use it for our target to get to the point to put pressure on this regime.
Fair enough. Hamid Saeidi, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Was all mine.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hamid Saeidi in Los Angeles. That's full time for Roqe for today. Thank you to the amazing team who put this show together. Savi Roham, talented Anahita, Parisa, Pega, Meritot, and Shaya. Thank you to all of you guys out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you've not done so already on any of our platforms. Also go to our website, roqemedia.com. roqemedia.com, where you can catch all of our previous episodes, our different series, outtakes, etc., and our show mission. It's all there, roqemedia.com, where you can also support us and become one of our patrons. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Thanks, as ever, for listening to us and supporting the movement for freedom in Iran. In the meantime, to all of you, as ever, Mizun Bashin.